Good morning everybody and welcome to Facebook Live. My name is Lindy Smith and today I'm going to be showing you how to make these little intricate snowflakes, and I'm also going to be showing you how to, not showing you, but giving you some tips on how to bake and decorate mini cakes. Now you might have noticed my very glamorous outfit and I've been challenged to wear it today because I won it at a raffle last week for the charity A Gift to a Wedding. So I shall pop some links up later so you can see all about that. But I think it's rather lovely. Unfortunately, I can't show you the whole outfit. It is a dress and it's got little fur here and it's got a lovely little skirt, but maybe another time. So let's get back to what we're doing today, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the snowflakes, but before I do, I would like to invite you to tell me who you are, where in the world you're watching from, and if you've got any questions as I go along, please do pop on and ask. Sophie's saying hello, hello. You're the first on today, Sophie, so hello and good morning and welcome. Now, snowflakes. I've always believed that each snowflake should be different. That's what we're told in school, isn't it? And that's what I try and do. Now, if you're using plunger cutters like these, can you see these? You can produce an awful lot of snowflakes in a very short length of time, but everyone is the same. So that, for me, is a little bit of a downside, but if you need snowflakes quickly, they're perfect. Another option I've got here is some moulds. Now, again, although you've got a selection in there, and these are gorgeous moulds, they're by First Impressions, and we do have them on our shop. But again, for me, every single one every time you use it, the snowflakes are the same. So although they're absolutely gorgeous, technically, if I'm being perfectionist here, which I often am, they need to be different. So what I use is some outline cutters like these ones here, which I will give you a close-up of later as well. And then I make my own designs, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But before we move on to the snowflakes, I'm going to talk about the mini cakes here. So what I'm going to do is flip the camera and introduce you to the tins I use to bake the cakes. And so if I just move these out of the way for the time being, it's that way over there, and I'll pick the camera up and flip them over. As Sophie says, she's watching from Chingford in London. Fantastic, Sophie. Lovely. And I'm going to flip the camera and show you, if I can, if it will flip. You're having a close-up of this lovely fur on this outfit while I try and flip this camera. Here we go. Right, so if I go in here, I use these mini cake pans. They're an Allen Silverwood sets, and they're manufactured in the UK, in Birmingham. And again, we have these on our shop, and I love them, and I've been using them for years and years and years. They come in 3 sizes. So the one closest to the camera, this one, is the 3-inch. And then we go round to the 2.5, and those are 2. And then behind, if I move those over, we've got how they come. So they come in sets of 16. And I've got one missing, which is I'll pop in a moment. And they're all on a tray. So if I just get my stand, there's many bits and pieces today that I'm having. There we go. Put those on the stand, and I can bring the tray in. Now you can use anything to bake your cakes that goes in an oven. So if you've got lots of baked bean tins, you can use those. If you've got terracotta pots, anything that's oven proof, and Pyrex dishes, of course, are another option. But I think these little mini cake tins are a really worthwhile investment, because once you've got them forever. They're made of anodized aluminium. So to use them, you need to line the base tin, so these all come off, and you put a sheet of baking paper in the bottom, cut to size obviously, and then each one you want to cut a rectangle of baking paper and just, whoopsie-daisy, curl it round and pop it inside like that. And obviously you do the whole lot, or as many as you want to do. Oh, Alan's on. Good morning, Alan. How are you? It's lovely that you're on here too. I hope you like my outfit. Did you spot it at the beginning? I'll come back to it later. Right, so you need to obviously choose a mixture that isn't too runny. If it's too runny, it'll seep underneath because there's no junction between the base and these rings. Lots of mixtures work. You know, you can use a traditional Madeira or a fruitcake, and this time of year, a fruitcake works really well. But if it's a runny mixture, like my chocolate fudge cake recipe, then that's going to seep out. So choose your mixture carefully. I've written a mini cake book, and in there's lots of different recipes that all have been tried and tested and all work. So if you've got that book, then use recipes from there. If not, just bear in mind what recipe you're putting in and make sure it's not too runny. But Christmas, you know, use Christmas cake mixture at this time of year is perfect. And of course, they'll last until Christmas. Now I'm going to move on to a few tips about covering. So let me just bring this little cake I brought in earlier. There we are. So you see it matches. Yeah, perfect match. I thought I had to have a red mini cake. So I covered this yesterday, and I've done the standard method. Let's bring it to the middle. So I just covered sugar paste over the top. Then what often happens, I found with my students, is that they get a Dalek shape. So basically they get a sugar paste that goes sort of like that shape. And it's because as you encourage the sugar paste to go over the surface, all the sugar paste gets amalgamated at the bottom. So one way around that is to get two smoothers, and it's to have this sort of action. And that way you encourage the sugar paste to go back up the outside of the cakes. And that way, if you're standing your smoothers, now I use smoothers with a flat edge. This is a flat edge. Oops. Here, can you see the flat edge? So they run very nicely along my board. So that's the sort of action that I do, like so. Now, you might have noticed that I've got sharp edges on my top of my mini cakes. It's the first time I've actually done sharp edges on this size of cake, just to check that it was possible. Now, over this year, I guess, I've been experimenting with different ways of creating these sharp edges, which are the current trend right now. I think we've tipped over the balance from having a sort of a mixture of sharp edges and rounded edges to probably just sharp edges. That seems to be the standard way at the moment. Now, the best way I've found of doing that is actually to, once you've covered your cake, is to put some paper on this surface here and tip the whole cake upside down and then smooth to that line. So imagine I had already flipped it, I'd be smoothing down to that line, and that way you get, then flip it back again, and then you get this nice sharp edge. So that's a couple of little tips for you for when you're covering your mini cakes. Now obviously you need to let those dry overnight, so I'm going to move these out of the way and pop it back over here, and I'm going to show you now what you need to make these little snowflakes. So if I bring the camera over, now you need some snowflake outlines, and these are all three of these are my designs. And as you can see, you need to take some shapes out of the middle. So I've got some little cutters here. I've got a little scallop diamond and a little teardrop, if the camera will focus. Hopefully it will. There we go. And I've got some piping nozzles, and you can see they come in different sizes. These are all PME ones, so they're good quality ones. And I've got, I think it's a 16, 17, 18, which are the larger ones, and I think it's a number 2 over there. To make your snowflakes sparkle, you need some luster dust, and I've got a mat over here, foam pad, for helping them dry so that they're drying on both sides. Okay, so what I'm going to do is flip the camera up here and show you what I'm doing with the paste, which I've already got pre-rolled here. So I'm just going to move the paste in. Lots of hearts going across the screen. Thank you very much. It's lovely to know that you are here watching me. Okay, I'm going to just move that way. These Facebook Lives, they're always a little bit of a challenge. Hi Lee, lovely to see you on here. Fantastic. Oh, another heart going across. Oh, it's really nice. Fantastic. Right, as you can see, I have rolled out this paste between 1 mil spaces. Now, if you want your snowflakes to stand proud like the ones on my cake did, you'll need to be using pastillage. Now, I'll send you a link later for a recipe. I've got one on my blog, so I can send you that link through. It's a paste that dries really hard. You have to work quite quickly so that it doesn't dry out, but if you don't want to have one standing proud, you can just use a modelling paste. So I've got the starburst cutter here. I'll bring the others in so you can see those as well. There we are. So starburst, I'm just going to press down on this paste, nice and firmly. so that it cuts all the way through. So now I'm just going to remove that. Whoops. Maybe give it a little wiggle just to make sure. Okay, move the cutter. And then I'm going to remove the excess paste. So you're left with a lovely starburst shape. Now you could make that into a star, of course you could. Now my favourite one that I made on the cake that I showed earlier is the one that was in the middle. And for that I take a craft knife. So each one I do is different. So I'm just cutting it and dividing that point in half, like so. We've got Clarissa saying hi from the Philippines. I'm truly global today. We've got Leahy in Israel, I know, and Philippines, and I guess there's a few people from other places as well. So do tell me where you're coming from, where you're watching. Here in the UK, it's a really cold, beautiful, sunny winter's day. It's absolutely lovely. I'm turning this round so that it makes it easier for me to cut, like so. Now, obviously, each snowflake you do can be entirely different. And so you need to experiment and see what you can come up with. The other snowflake that I had on the mini cake, which I will show you again later, I cut into the edges like to make like a feather effect along each side of this longer section. So that goes that way. We got Mina from Sydney, Australia. Oh, I guess it's really hot with you, Mina. I've only once had a hot Christmas, and it was really strange. Joan says hello from sunny, cold Glasgow, and she says she's meant to be working. I know the feeling, But I hope you enjoy what I'm going to show you and that it inspires you. Now, I'm going to take one of these little cutters, and this is this little scallop diamond, and it's a little tiny cutter, so you have to be quite nimble with your fingers here. And I'm just using it to cut out shapes from within the snowflake itself. And I will remove those pieces in a moment. I'm just going to place them here. Tracy says it's 32 degrees in Sydney today. Whoa, what a contrast to here, hey? I know when I last looked at the thermometer here, it was 0. And we even had some snow yesterday. I mean, it didn't settle. It was just a few flakes when I was outside, and I had a dark coat on, and they know when they land on your coat and you look at the patterns, they were truly magical, absolutely gorgeous, which is what actually inspired me to do this today. So there we go. I'm just removing, I'm using a craft knife because that's to hand, but often I would use I've forgotten what they're called. A scriber needle. There we go. Now, I mentioned using piping tubes as cutters. I've been using piping tubes as cutters for years, so I'm just going to use this one. This is a number 2. And obviously, if you're doing it, you need to make sure everything is symmetrical, because snowflakes more or less are symmetrical. And then in the centre, I'm just going to do, I think we'll just put 1 in the centre, like so. So that gives you an idea of what you can do. Obviously, see what cutters you've got in your box. I find this little one, actually I'll put it here, this little one, it's just a little small teardrop, is really effective. And but look in your box, see what you've got that's really small, and see what patterns you can create. And Joe Richardson says so effective. It is, Joe, and it's great fun to do. If I zoom in, you can have a little look at that. Now, I tend to leave this to dry for a few seconds on my board before I move it over to the foam mat. So I'll just quickly bring the foam mat in, and then you'll be able to see some of the ones I've done earlier. I'm just going to move this out of the way, like so. Move that across. There we are. Now, some of these other ones I've embellished with a little bit of royal icing, which I will show you in a moment. So you can really go to town with these. I'll bring that one in here. Oops, let's get it off there. And obviously these little bits I can straighten up. Okay, like that. You can really go to town, and you can add as much embellishment as you want. So I've got some royal icing here. So I will just make sure Yeah, it's okay. And actually I've got a number 2 in this. I'd usually use something a little bit smaller probably for the details, but I'll just add a little bit so you can see what I mean. Few little dots. And if I bring my camera in closer, you can have a look at these. Now, these ones in the front are made using what I call a simple snowflake, so it's a bit like a hexagon, but I've cut into it with different cutters and with my knife to create different shapes. So this one is just literally a knife cutting in. This one has got the small scallop diamond, which seems to have vanished from my surface. Where should I put it? Who knows? Who knows? And the one at the back is using the intricate snowflake. That one with a circle. This one, piping tube like that. Again, it's the scallop diamond that's taking out of the front. So I'll just zoom in so you can see that one. And I've piped on top as well. And that's another one. It's just a matter of experimenting and seeing what you can do. Now, I guess the next question is, how do you attach them? So I'm going to show you that next. We've got Antonia, she's watching from Lagos, Nigeria, and she says, great job. And we've got a warm hello from Lorna from Puerto Rico. Thank you all for saying hello, and it's very encouraging that you're on here watching me, because I like to know I'm inspiring you. So I'm just going to move this out the way. I'm going to flip the camera back and show you how to attach the snowflakes. So let me just do one thing at a time. I think if I flick it back to me first, let's do that. There we are. You've got me back again, so I'll pop that up there and remove that. Bring the cakes in. There we are. Oh, Leahy, you might want to know that this colouring is using your turquoise coloured paste. Thought you'd like to know that. I'm going to add a snowflake to this red one. Now, as you can see, if I bring these in, I've got pins holding these in place. Can you see that? And that is because I'm using royal icing to attach it, and then obviously the royal icing needs to set, and in a moment I will take those pins away to show you that it works. Okay, so I've got a little snowflake, so I'm going to use this one. I'm going to put some royal icing on the back, so if I bring this in, I'm just going to put a little bit on the back. That's just a blob there. I need a pin because this needs to be, I'm going to try and do it to the camera, so I'm a bit all fingers and thumbs, but you'll get the idea. So if I stick that on there, I can't see what I'm doing, hold on. I'm going to turn it around a fraction. Whoops. Exactly. I find you need 2 pins, and my icing is still a little bit soft actually. There, that will hold it. Okay, turn it round so I can see. Whoops, I need to move it across because my icing has smudged a little. That's better. Okay. So there we are. That one's attached now, and obviously I need to let the royal icing set. We've got comments about my outfit. I'm glad you like my outfit. I'm enjoying wearing it, I must say. As I mentioned earlier, it's one I won last week at a charity raffle, and I was challenged to wear it today. So it's very appropriate, isn't it? I think I'll have to continue doing Facebook Lives wearing it until Christmas. I'm now going to remove the pins just to show you, because I did this literally before I went live. So now the royal icing has set on that one. And it should have set this one too. Now this one, if I turn it round, you can see I've only attached it right on the side there. So it's really coming off the side of the cake. And this top one, oh, lots of smiley faces, fantastic. And this top one, I've actually pushed into the sugar paste. I don't know if you can see that. I don't want to tip it, but I've literally pushed it in and then piped, if I turn it round, a little dot of royal icing just there so that it stays upright. So it's nice and vertical. Yes, you can see that's completely vertical, and they all stand perfectly. Now, the only reason that they do this is because they're made of pastillage. So that's very important when you're making these, to make them from pastillage if you want them to stand up, particularly if you live in a humid climate or you live in a house that's not quite as dry as you'd like it to be. If you live in a nice dry modern house, then you won't have a problem using a modelling paste, but if not, pastillage is definitely the way to go, and I will post a recipe that I have on my blog up afterwards for you. Jo asked the question. She says, are they made from flour paste? You could use flour paste, Jo, but I've actually used pastillage, as I was just talking about. Okay, now I haven't quite finished these. What I'm going to do is do some more piping. I'm going to put probably some piping dots. I'm going to put some more snowflakes on each one. Once I've finished, I will put them up as a picture on Facebook. But in the meantime, if you have questions about what I've done, if you feel inspired, do have a go. All the cutters and the products you've seen me use today are available on the Lindy's Cakes website, including the multi-mini tins to bake the mini cakes as well. And we also have recipes on the blog as well. So thank you for watching, and do come back next time. If you've got any questions, I will pop on afterwards and I will answer as best I can. And I will give you all the links that I've promised and any that you require as well. So have fun making them and enjoy the process. They are not something quick, as I said, but they are such fun to do, and each one is individual, as they should be. Have a lovely day, and I will see you again soon.